There are 5 stupid things golfers do that are killing their scorecard. So what are they, and how can you get your scoring better without changing your golf swing? So obviously it all starts with the tee shot. What are the biggest mistakes you see people make from here?
What I think amateur golfers do really badly is not take into account where the hazards are and then what's the appropriate aim position for the hazards. We've got a water hazard, like a stream or something down the right. We've got a sort of big fairway bunker in the middle, rough everywhere else. It's a fairly intimidating tee shot. So when I stand on this tee, what I'm thinking about is, right, well, the place where I'm expected to have the highest score would be in the water hazard. So that is the number 1 place to avoid. So I definitely don't want to go right. Now, if that means, for example, if I hit it in the bunker, that's not a totally bad result because I'm not in the water hazard and you can still play from there. The second highest expected score would be in the bunker. So that's sort of the second worst place to go. But again, it's better than the water hazard, so actually I don't mind if I go in there. The next best place would be in the rough. If I'm in the rough, then that's great because I'm not in the bunker, I'm not in the water, I can still advance a shot at the green. And obviously, if everything goes great, I'm in the middle of the fairway. Really, on this shot, on my line, there's like a bunker down the left side, there's water on the right, and there's fairway in the middle. I'm probably going to aim more towards the bunker. I definitely don't want to go in the water because I'm going to have to drop it out. I'm going to be playing 3 from down there, and I'm looking at double. It's an interesting one. People often think, well, I've got to thread it down the fairway. If you can get it away from all the trouble into the rough, that can often be quite a good place to be.
If I aim further left here, I might end up in the rough or the bunker, but actually that's way better than being in the water hazard, and it's going to bring my average score down over time.
If you hit 50 drives, they're not all going to be in the same place. They're going to be in like somewhat of a circle, half of them being to the right, half of them being to the left. There's probably going to be 50 or 60 to 70 yards between the furthest right and the furthest left. So we want to be trying to aim in a place where our furthest offline ball doesn't go into that penalty hazard. You've got to take your chance on your sort of the natural variation of hitting the driver.
Right, you've made that sound pretty simple, so
have a go.
Guess I'm going to have a go and see. So following from that advice, going to take the line of the middle green side bunker, which is like right edge of the fairway bunker, put a good like 30 left of the water. I have no idea where that went, it's so sunny. I didn't see it.
It took off very straight.
So into the greens, I think the biggest mistake people make is just completely picking the wrong club.
If you look at like the shot scope data, when amateurs miss the green 50% of the time, they're short. People definitely aren't taking enough club, whether that's because they don't know the distances or they're just not as good as they think they are.
The danger is short, so you're making things harder for yourself by leaving the ball short of the green as well.
Yeah, so unless you're at like a links where generally you can sort of run the ball on the green, most of the danger at a parking course is short. This shot, for example, we've got a bunker basically short middle of the green and a bunker short right of the green. I'm taking at least 1 more club because there's no danger long of the green. So when I'm sort of stood here trying to figure out what club I'm going to hit, I'm thinking, right, well, it's 164 to the middle, the pin's in the middle, so that's fine. So that would be like a 7 iron. All the danger's short, so we want to take probably 1 more just to guarantee we get over that, just because we sort of have to plan for a bad strike.
I think it's so easy to just laser the pin and not think about anything else. Like obviously here you've got the wind, the slope, where the danger is. Like there's just so much more to factor in than just like the actual distance of the shot. People
should be taking probably 2 clubs more. I see it all the time on the range. I'm lucky to have a launch monitor. People hitting shots and they say, how far's that going? 135, and I go, oh, well, that's 20 yards shorter than I normally hit it. It's definitely not, mate. Generally, people will tell you what their best distance is, not what their average is. If I stood and hit 10-7 irons, my best might go 170, but my average might be closer to like 165, 163. I'm far better off playing the average distance, and if I go long, then so be it. Because generally what people do is they go, it's 164 to the middle, so I could just smash an 8 iron there. This shot in particular, I'd probably go 2 more than normal. I'd hit a 7 or an 8 to 164. I'd probably hit a 6 or a 5 here just because I could, if I chipped a 5, it'd go pretty low, it'd stay out the wind, but I'd definitely get over the 2 bunkers at the front and the pin sort of back to centre. So even if I did go in those bunkers, I'd be left with one of those sort of smelly 30-yard bunker shots where you're pretty much always going to bat it or thin it out of there.
Right, let's see if I can take my own advice.
Yeah, good strike.
Paradigm line's definitely giving me a bit of extra yardage there. Lovely, right next to the pin.
Unbelievable.
I mean, what on earth are we going to hit from here?
Well, we're 180 yards from the middle of the green.
I feel like the middle of the green isn't my biggest priority now. It's just like getting it back in play. The lie's bad. It's on a downhill slope. It's going to deal off my club.
Yeah.
There's long grass, it's going to shut the face. So I feel like I just want to chunk something out short in that big portion of fairway and then pitch it on.
Exactly. What I see all the time in playing lessons with high handicappers or people who are just rubbish at course management, they get to the ball, they see that they're in a bad lie, they look at the watch, they go 180 to the middle, and they go, well, that's a 5. And they pull the 5 iron out without any sort of regard to the lie, the slope, the trouble.
I think the worst thing you can do is once you get in a bad spot, then make another bad decision, because that's how you rack up like those high scores.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, compounding errors is how people go from having a fairly steady score to then having a random 9 and then having, you know, an absolute card wrecker. We're not a million miles from the fairway, but we found a really bad spot. Once we find a bad spot, you've got to just sort of almost go, right, well, par's off the cards now. What am I going to do to just make sure I don't have a double or worse? So we're at 180. We're definitely not going to hit our 180 club. You know, you said it very well. There's loads of trouble out in front of us. We're not going to get to the green, so we're probably best off just like chunking a wedge 100 yards, leaving ourselves a, you know, a fairly straightforward pitch or chip on the green. I think the problem is we've seen so many times over the years, Tiger in some absolute garbage play some sort of miraculous shot, and we think it's really easy. You know, it's obviously it's not very easy. You know,
we're not Tiger.
We're definitely not Tiger, so we're not even going to think about doing something like that. I got the 5 iron. I'm going to give you the wedge instead.
I'm aiming right as well.
It's so thick, isn't it? It's yeah. Well done. Once you're in trouble, don't turn it into even more trouble. The fairway's only there to just get the ball back out in play, you know, and have a bit of a mental reset. We've missed the green. Things aren't looking so good. The hole isn't over yet. People can still ruin their cards from here.
I think some of it certainly depends on the scenario, doesn't it? If you're on the 18th green, you've got to get up and down to win club champs or something. You're thinking about it differently to if you're on the first hole and you just don't want to start with a double. And also depends on like which shots you like to hit and where your strengths are. I definitely don't want to catch something heavy and end up with the same shot up the hill again.
Yeah. Something that I think amateurs definitely get wrong is when they miss the green, they're not thinking about anything like that, and they sort of just see what shot will Jordan Spieth play and then try and do that. If you've missed the green, for starters, you're now more likely to make a double bogey than you are to make a par. What we've got to try and do is like change our mindset and sort of almost to double bogey avoidance. And actually from here, 3 is a good score. 2 would be great, but that, you know, low odds of doing that. 3 is a good score and 4 is an absolute disaster because, you know, we're within throwing distance of the flag. You've immediately gone for a high lofted wedge. For sort of mid to high handicappers, you know, the thing I would definitely jump to here, certainly with this shot, because we've sort of got, you know, all this is just fringe. We could put this, we could 9-iron chip it, or we, you know, you could use your sort of high lofted wedge if you're quite a skilled player. Anywhere on the green's good here, so we don't have to hit that sort of low nippy spinner and try and hit it close. We just need to sort of nudge something onto the green inside 15 feet and 2-putt and get away.
What would actually be pretty nice here is like a little hybrid. Just bump and run it up the slope. Drop my club on the floor while I'm doing it. I hit this shot a lot when out of position because I just think it's so easy to 1, make decent contact and 2, get the ball running. Like you don't really have to have much skill to do it, so it feels like just an easy way to get the ball on the green and move on. It comes out a bit faster than a putter, like it's going to release a bit more, so you're definitely not going to leave it short. I barely did anything. You're
quite pleased with that, aren't you? Because it's gone quite close.
I just saved my
Well, why don't you now try play one with the high lofted wedge and hit one with the putter after that as well? Problem here is the length of swing you have to make to hit the right shot.
And you've got to strike this good. Look how high this nips. Little Z grind.
Play that really nicely, but you know it's not as close as the hybrid.
9-iron.
Yep.
This is good because you can do it a bit more like a putting stroke. So like I thinned that, so for execution it was terrible, but it's still really near the pin.
Yeah, it's just finished behind the hole.
You can execute or hit a terrible shot, but it still goes near the hole. Is the idea.
Yeah, well, that's good. Try the last one with a putter.
I feel like this is a good option for a lot of people, but personally I feel like I would have to hit it very hard to get it through this grass.
I mean, even though that's a shot you're not like, you'd never play, it's still finished closer than your lob wedge.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the hybrid's the closest, the 9s, you know, all those 3 shots with the low lofted clubs are all within 3 feet of the flag. So, you know, we've missed the green, now we've got a great chance at a 4, which is a real bonus. Missing that tap in, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
This is not the time to lose focus, is it?
Absolutely not, even though you've only got 2.5 feet. We see it all too often, don't we? People either chip it close, they get the putter and they run on just to get out of the way, or they've hit a long putt and the ball's sort of relatively close. And they walk up and they probably
End
not,
up further than
yeah,
terrible.
that was probably not as bad as that, or hopefully not as bad as that. You know, if it takes a bit longer, it takes a bit longer. It's, you know, we're not rushing. I know these shots, sort of strokes gained wise, aren't as valuable as like a flush 4-iron from 210 yards, but if you miss that, it's another stroke on your score. These should be fairly automatic. We shouldn't be missing them, but it's absolute pain if you do. Oh God! Oh no!
I suddenly got really nervous over that when you were saying that.
Missing that tap in, it's embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, thank God for that.
You've got to give these short ones respect.
And also actually practice them.
Absolutely. I think amateurs, when they're practicing the putting, spend way too much time working on like mid-range putts, which they're never going to hole out on the course anyway. Work on putts inside 4 feet so that you're pretty much automatic, and then work on putts outside 20 feet so that when you're outside 20 you can get it inside 4, and when you're inside 4 you feel really good about it anyway. I think people almost feel stupid lining these short ones up because it's sort of like so short. You should just, in theory, be able to walk up and tap it in. But if I'm that guy who marks every ball, lines up because it's just, you can't afford to just waste shots if you're trying to get your handicap down, or you're trying to win a match, or you're trying to do well in a comp. You've just got to knock them in, and you can't, as soon as you let your focus slip or you rush or whatever, you're throwing it away for no reason.